Hey everybody, green chili stew. That's what family calls it. Let me say I'm really glad that you're here today to watch this. I thank you very much for that. This recipe originally used fresh roasted hatch green chili. We lived in New Mexico, it was readily available. We don't live there now anymore, so it's not always easy to come by. And so it's kind of morphed its way into some other thing that we use a can of prepared green chili, but it doesn't really have the full flavor effect. So we also add some jalapenos, and we add a can of green chili enchilada sauce. And it's different. It's really good, though. We love it. Oh, we love it. You should try it. Ready? Okay, here's your list of ingredients. Hit pause, write them down. Now here's how I made it. Okay, so we're going to start off with mise en place. I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm saying it just so I sound fancy. The truth is, it's a French word that some people use in the cooking industry. Don't mind the shaking. You're sitting on the table as I'm trying to cut. Sorry about that. It's a cooking term meaning to be prepared and organized. Okay, so sometimes confused with cutting vegetables or something like that, but that's because cutting the vegetables and stuff like that is being prepared to cook. Okay, so we're starting with the onion, and there's lots of ways to cut onions. So, you know, if you have a better way, that's fine. Okay. So we're going to cut these onions up into small little pieces so that they can flavor everything else in the dish as much as possible. Okay, now when it comes to garlic, I try to always use fresh garlic. I have experimented with the kind that's already cut up in a little jar at the grocery store, and it's real garlic, alright, but it's just not as potent. You have to use so much more, and still, I don't know, it's just not quite the same taste. So for my money, I'm going to go with fresh. And I have experimented with garlic powder in the past. And in my opinion, it works like this. If you use garlic powder, then you don't miss the garlic so much being absent in the dish. However, you don't acknowledge that there actually is garlic in the dish when you eat it. You know what I'm saying? So, cut off the two ends. And then the peeling comes off really easy. Now, some people say to smash it, and that makes the peel come off easy. And there's truth in that. Hang on, folks. Hope you're still with me. Okay, so I still believe in smashing it because I believe that it does generate the garlic oil start coming out of it and giving it some really good flavor. That, again, if you use the stuff in the jar, it kind of gets washed away because of all the liquid in the jar. So figure out how much garlic you need. Oh, I forgot to warn you, didn't I? Hang on. Man, that one was a hard one. Let's regain our composure here. There we go. So now Get that old garlic flowing out of there. The juices I'm talking about. And then I try to cut these up just as small as I can. Hope this isn't too bad of a ride for you sitting on the table here. But anybody who knows me knows I ain't much for standing at the counter. It's just not my speed. As I'll be sharing this meal with my wife, and she does not like onions, I won't be using it. Say goodbye to the lovely onion. Oh, I'll save it in a baggie in the fridge and I will have it in another meal, but for now, we got our garlic chopped up, and we'll put it in a bowl. And you just sort of pretend that there's chopped up onion in here too, okay? That'll be good. So we have onion and garlic. Now, we need to do some jalapenos. So I got them from the store. And we'll get this out here. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So with jalapenos, here's the way I like to do it. Okay, I chop off the top here, and I chop off the bottom. Just a little nip, see? Okay, and I throw those away in the trash. Then I cut this right in half like this. Now here's the deal. Sometimes jalapenos are very hot, and sometimes they are not. Usually they are not. You know for yourself how much you like jalapenos. Okay? So, and if you don't know, then you should find out. And the reason I say this is because the seeds right there are where most of the heat comes from. And we usually throw the seeds away because we want the flavor that's in this doohickey here. Okay? Kind of twist that knife without my thumb in the way. There you go. So, now I want to get all the seeds. And a few seeds are okay. It's not like they're bad, okay? But it's just the majority of them. Now I'll scrape this off. Okay, so this is the way I like to cut them. And you may have a better way, and you may not. So I'm just showing you what I do. There's no law that says that my way is the right way or the best way. Now, do you see what I've done, Julian? I've cut them into these long, thin pieces, okay? Now, I turn that sideways and try to line them all up flat along that edge. See that? And then I hold on to that real good, and then I could just cut right across. And what you wind up with are a whole bunch of little pieces that are all about the same size exactly. Little tiny cubes or squares. And as you get down to the end, they won't exactly be the same, but close enough. This is not a contest or a competition. Okay. They may not be the same length here. That's okay. I want them about the same width. Even if it leaves a little tiny piece like this right here. That's okay. We like a little heat, but it's not about the heat. It's about the flavor. Okay, so there we go. And that's probably enough. You add that to your bowl. So you pretend you have onions, right? So you got your onions, your jalapenos, and your garlic in your bowl. And then you put a lid on that, and you put it in the refrigerator overnight. Okay, now we're going to work on the wet ingredients, having finished the dry ingredients already. And they would include potatoes, carrots, and celery. Okay, first thing we're going to do is grab some celery and tear them apart. I have a particular order I like to do this in. I think you'll see why in a minute. You can, of course, do it however you want, but I want to show you why I do it my way. First thing I'm going to do is cut off the tops, and then I want to cut off where the green goes away here, because the white part basically is tough and has no flavor whatsoever. And the only reason I'm using celery is for the flavor. Okay, so having cut both ends off, I'm just going to throw that in my bowl. Then we'll do the potatoes. Now the potatoes, you want to get the whole thing all the way around, watching for spots like that. See, it's a little bit dug in. Most of them have some kind of tip on the end or tool that you can use to dig those out without wasting as much of the actual potato, you see? And it is very, very, very common to find bad spots. It's no big deal. It doesn't ruin the potato. See, right there's a bad spot. You see that? Just chip away at it. Sometimes you gotta dig it out, sometimes you can do that. Just depends on how much potato you want to waste. Okay. See, and those are not bad spots. That's just a low spot on the potato. So it's a little bit of skin still on there because it's in a divot or a hole. Okay, now potatoes done, and I put them in the bowl, and now we're going to go to the sink. Okay, first thing we're going to do is turn on some water, and we want to wash off the celery and put them back in the bowl. And wash off the potatoes and put them back in the bowl. Is peel the carrots. I'm going to get right up to the edge of it, but I'm not too worried about getting the actual end of it, because we're going to chop that off in a minute. Okay, setting the celery aside, let's chop up some of these potatoes. Now there's a million different ways to chop potatoes. It doesn't really matter how you do it as far as I'm concerned. Of course, the chefs would tell you something different. But here's the thing. When you're done, you want all the potatoes about the same thickness and about the same surface area. Okay, so that way they cook evenly. Some of these longer ones I will cut in half again. Okay. If you get something too small, well, that's just good eating there. Oh yeah. So we're going to cut these up and put them back into the bowl. Okay, now the celery. Now we got to talk about celery, because the normal thing would be to slice it like that all the way through and include it. Here's the problem. I don't particularly like cooked soft celery. I like cold hard celery, you know, with peanut butter or cream cheese or something like that, but I don't like cooked celery. It's mushy and stringy, and so to me, I cut it in about 1.5 inch pieces, and I put that in. That way I can pull it out, and my wife likes it, so she eats it. But here's the deal. It's important for the flavor of the entire dish. There's this basic flavor combo that's really important in the chef world of potatoes and celery and onion, and also can include carrots. Although carrots is more of a taker than a giver, but it's a healthy rounded thing. But there's a certain flavor combo that happens with those, so it's kind of important. So my wife doesn't like onion, and I don't like cooked celery. So it makes it a little hard sometimes, but we find ways. This one's kind of big, so I'm going to cut it down this way. There we go. Now the carrots. Now, I'm going to cut, we peeled them. I'm going to cut off the two ends. Throw those away. And the carrots don't really need washing because you have peeled off the entire outside surface and cutting off the two ends. It's all raw. Now you might say to yourself, well, you peeled off the entire potato too. Yes, but as you touch the potato skin, it gets on your hands and then you get the potato dirty. That doesn't happen here. Now there's a bad spot right there. And that happens sometimes. That's not a problem. See, I just ran the thing over one more time. It's gone. Okay. Now, I want very thin sliced carrots. Carrots take the longest to cook out of everything that's in this dish. So you want them as thin as possible, thinner than anything else. And that will actually help them to absorb the flavor a little better. Now this one, see, I'm cutting diagonally. Looks a little better, but it's because the carrot is so small. See that? It's so small when you cut it straight that, I don't know, it gets lost. Okay, this is starting to get a little thicker, so I'm going to start cutting it flat. The object here, at least for me, is to not get any bigger than a nickel. See, and we're up to a nickel here. So what I'll do now, cut it in half, and then keep going. And what I have is smaller than nickel pieces. Okay, and this one's already too big. And it's getting bigger, so now I'm going to cut each half in half again, making it basically quartered, and keep on going. And of course it comes down to the end where it's hard to hold on to. Then do each little one by itself. Do not cut your finger off. It's not good for the flavor profile. Okay, that's your wet ingredients done. Now it's just a matter of cover it with water and put it in the fridge overnight. Now, it must be completely covered. You don't want anything poking up above the water, especially not a potato, because it will turn black in just a matter of a couple hours if it's exposed to the air. Okay, so you want everything covered with water and put it in the refrigerator overnight, and we are ready to go in the morning. These are my favorite brands for this particular thing. Hatch is the best green chili, I think, but this Las Palomas is the best enchilada sauce. So we're going to open these and dump them in. Okay, having dumped those into the crock pot, I now have my dry mix with the pretend onions, the jalapeno, and the garlic, and we're going to dump that all in. And then, having drained all the water off of our vegetables, get this out here a little bit, I'm going to dump my vegetables in too. Okay. Next comes the meat. Okay, now with the meat, what you want to do is make sure that every piece is cut up into bite size, basically. It's going to shrink some. See, that's okay. It's going to shrink some, but you don't want it too big, or it won't go as far in the dish. Okay, you want the proper ratio of meat to vegetable mixture. And after all, this is essentially excess trimmings off of steaks and roasts, things that they wanted to cut it down to a certain size. And they don't throw away the trimmings. Oh no. They sell it to you as stew meat. So they're all different shapes, all different sizes. whatever it was that they cut off, a piece of meat. You know, look at that. Okay, that's just too big a piece. This is where a really sharp knife comes in handy. I'm going to go dump this into the crock pot. And then we just keep on going till we get her all done. Okay, having put all the meat in, I have almost everything in here. Let me give it a quick stir. I want to coat everything with that enchilada sauce down below. And I want to mix up the potatoes and the carrots and the meat and the celery and the bell pepper. I mean, not bell pepper, but you know, all the ingredients. I want evenly mixed throughout the whole pot to help with the flavor profile. In other words, the exchange of flavors between the different ingredients. The potatoes, you know, they have no flavor raw, so we want them evenly mixed to absorb the flavors of the other things. The fat that's in the meat is one of those biggest flavors. Of course, is the enchilada sauce, the celery, the carrots to a very small degree, the pretend onions to a big degree, the green chili, the jalapeno. We want all that to mix and get absorbed into the potatoes. And the carrots are kind of, in my brain anyway, a half and half. They add a small bit of flavor, but they absorb more flavor than the other things I just mentioned. Okay. I think I got everything coated with sauce. Pretty good for now. Okay, this is my choice for the seasoning packet. Hearty beef stew from McCormick. I think a generic brand is okay for this if you want. First we're going to start off with some water. Okay. And then we're going to pour this into the water. Because the object here is to dissolve it. Get myself a fork. I think works better than a spoon because of the tines. It allows the water to go in between the tines and dissolve the powder better. Okay, and we pour that in the stew. And there's a little bit left. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to add what I call about a teaspoon of black pepper, just for seasoning. And then we want to stir this up all over again. And if it's full, like mine is right now, I'm using the large crock pot. I've got an extra large. I should have used it just because it's easier to stir in. Good thing I don't have the onions, huh? Oh, wait a minute. I do have the onions. They're pretend onions. Ha ha ha. Point is, again, a complete stir. Scraping the bottom, moving everything around. Now, once I've done that, I want to level out the top, sort of pack it down a little, completely level, And you want enough juice in here that everything is covered, especially the potatoes. Now, if you don't have enough liquid to cover the potatoes, then just add plain water, that's fine. Because it shouldn't be much that you need. Which, by the way, I put it on high when I first started adding ingredients. I forgot to tell you that. Because I know that today it's going to be a short day. We're going to want to eat dinner soon. Sooner than normal. So I need it done in about 4 or 5 hours. As opposed to putting it on low and letting it cook for 8 to 10 hours. Okay, so I just barely have it covered. And that's what we're going to put the lid on. Now, important note, if I haven't already told you, with crock pots, do not take the lid off while cooking if you can help it. Every time you take the lid off, you lose valuable moisture, a little bit of the seasoning, and a lot of temperature because heat rises.
And there you have it, our family's green chili stew. I sure hope that you enjoy it. I know we did. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a great day.